Welcome to this explainer. I want you to imagine, just for a second, waking up in a totally different reality. A world where the single biggest sporting event on the planet simply never happened. No legendary finals, no iconic golden trophy lifted high into the air, no unforgettable summer nights where billions of people stop absolutely everything they're doing just to watch a single match. Today, we're taking a cinematic dive into the ultimate butterfly effect. We're looking at a chain reaction that changes way more than just a game. It alters business, culture, politics, and honestly, the very identity of entire nations. So what if the FIFA World Cup never existed? At first glance, it almost sounds impossible, right? I mean, football would still be around, stadiums would still be packed every weekend, and clubs would still compete. But once you remove that one specific magical tournament from history, this massive void opens up. Entire nations lose their defining cultural moments. The global sports landscape evolves in a completely different direction. And by the end of this timeline we're about to explore, football might not even hold the crown as the world's most popular sport. Think of this as a mysterious map of our alternate timeline. We have 5 stages of erasure. First, the 1928 vote fails. 2, clubs conquer the sport. 3, erasing legends. 4, rivals claim the throne. And finally, 5, the loss of identity. Okay, let's jump right in with stage 1. The 1928 vote fails. In our timeline, the FIFA World Cup kicked off in 1930 and basically exploded into the most prestigious competition in all of football. But in this alternate 1928, it totally falls apart. FIFA officials gather, but financial concerns immediately pop up. Political disagreements spark between nations, and the logistical challenges of cross-continental travel, which, let's be real, back then mostly meant guys in suits complaining about being stuck on a boat for 3 weeks, they just prove way too overwhelming. The vote fails. The whole idea is completely abandoned before it even gets off the ground. And you know what the crazy part is? At first, literally nobody notices. Domestic leagues just keep humming along. Newspapers barely even mention the failed proposal. Everyone just assumes the sport will keep growing naturally on its own. But man, they were dead wrong. What happens next is this creeping, silent decay of international football. Without a World Cup to unite global audiences, growth just stalls out dramatically. By the 1950s, countries that would have eventually become massive football powerhouses never get that initial spark of inspiration. By the 1970s, you have this infrastructure gap that becomes totally impossible to ignore. I mean, governments aren't exactly going to spend millions to build massive stadiums for international matches that don't even exist. Millions of kids across Asia, Africa, and North America grow up without that ultimate dream of representing their country on the world's biggest stage. The youth development systems, they just stall out. Which brings us to stage 2. Clubs conquer the sport. Because of this massive power vacuum, national teams suddenly struggle for any real attention. They completely lack prestige. Meanwhile, club football steps up and becomes the undisputed, absolutely unchallenged center of the entire sport. Instead of dreaming about lifting a World Cup for their country, young players are now dreaming exclusively about winning domestic league titles and continental club trophies. By the time we hit the 1980s, the balance of power has shifted so drastically that club owners, broadcasters, and domestic leagues control way more of the sport and generate way more wealth and influence than FIFA ever could. National teams are basically relegated to being mere secondary attractions. Now for the emotional core of this. Stage 3. Erasing football's greatest legends. Just think about your absolute favorite players, the ones you idolize. In our reality, Pelé is a global icon, largely because he dominated this exact tournament. Diego Maradona has that unbelievable, superhuman 1986 run that quite literally lifted up an entire nation. Lionel Messi finally completes his perfect storybook ending in 2022. But in this alternate timeline, look, they're still great players, for sure. Cristiano Ronaldo still has a phenomenal, record-breaking career. But they lack that ultimate stage. They become heroic, localized club players, totally robbed of the one tournament capable of defining an entire nation. Gone. It's all just gone. No Maradona miracle run, no hand of God, no dramatic penalty shootouts watched by billions of people biting their nails, no Zidane headbutt in the final, no Messi redemption story, no underdog nations completely shocking the world. Entire documentaries are never made. Countless fierce, historic rivalries never develop. Whole generations grow up never hearing those legendary stories. It's literally like someone took a giant eraser to the cultural history of humanity and just wiped away hundreds of iconic shared experiences. Billions of memories just vanishing before they were even created. Let the weight of that sink in for a second.
An entire chapter of human joy, heartbreak, and connection just gone into thin air.
So what happens to the rest of the sports world? Stage 4, rivals claim the throne. Nature abhors a vacuum, right? Without the World Cup dominating global attention every 4 years, a massive opening appears in international sports. And look who rushes right in to fill it. Basketball starts expanding so much faster into new markets. Cricket gains these massive new audiences way outside of its traditional regions. Rugby and baseball strengthen their global positions and start attracting huge international television investments. The sports market pie is just completely fractured. So by the 1990s, sports analysts and broadcasters are sitting around seriously debating a previously unthinkable question. What if football is no longer the world's most popular sport? Sponsors start diversifying all their spending, pulling away from a highly fragmented football market. Instead of one single sport being totally untouchable and soaking up all the global attention, multiple sports are now sharing the spotlight. Don't get me wrong, football is still massive in this reality, absolutely, but it has undeniably lost its undisputed crown.
And that brings us to our deepest consequence. Stage 5, the loss of identity.
See, the true impact of the tournament goes so far beyond just broadcast rights and money. Without it, national unity through sport is remarkably low. Global connections are basically severed. Football cultures grow increasingly isolated and incredibly regional because they just lack a reason for countries to travel, interact, and cooperate with each other. And the emotional power? Those historic victories that once became permanently etched into national memory are just replaced. Defeats hurt a little less, and victories just feel kind of smaller. The stakes are simply never quite as high. In our world, the World Cup is this incredibly rare chance for countries to truly unite behind a common goal. It's a time where deep political divisions can temporarily fade away. Entire nations pour into the streets to celebrate together. Decades later, people remember exactly where they were when a specific goal went in. Now, football absolutely survives in this alternate 21st century. The stadiums are still full, the club rivalries burn bright, but there's no global celebration that transcends borders. It never becomes that monumental cultural force that literally stops the world from spinning every 4 years. And it all comes down to this number. One meeting. One single vote in 1928. One tournament that never happened. It really shows us how incredibly fragile our shared sports history really is. The World Cup didn't just showcase football's popularity to the world, it actively created it. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. If the World Cup never existed, would football still rule the planet, or would another sport be sitting on the throne today?